I just beat the level 70 capstone dungeon at level 55 on Pulverize. Let me show you how. But first, here's the boss fight. Ooh, that does damage. Well, capstone's not too hard. I had a Twitch chatter dare me to try doing the boss at level 55. And I was like, there's no way I'm clearing the boss at 55 on Pulverize. Single target's just not very good. Then I had another Twitch chatter say, yeah, you can't do that, it's impossible. So of course I took that as a challenge. I put together the best build I could, and I went and tried. Not only was it doable, but I think I could have done it 5 or 10 levels earlier, which is kind of crazy. Now I still think Pulverize is overrated, and I would have rather been doing it on my Storm build. But for anyone who's on Pulverize, or who has gotten all of the stuff for Pulverize, this build should help you get it done. Speaking of getting it done, Skytech Gaming, Intel, and Signal RGB joined forces to bring you this Diablo 4 inspired PC. The potions inside react to your health and resources in real time. The Signal RGB app syncs with your devices from any brand to take your game lighting to the next level. The Skytech team designed and 3D printed this case with cooling and performance in mind. This beauty is hand painted. The chest contains the 13th gen Intel 13600K and the RTX 4070, which gives you all the legendary hardware you need to defeat Lilith and save Sanctuary. If you want to enter the giveaway, click the link in the video description below. Now, before we get into the build, it's important that you know what your specific needs are. Based off of what you've gotten so far, your decisions will be different, and I'm going to try and lay that out as easily as possible for you. So I'm going to go through the items first, and then we'll go through the build. If you've gotten Vasili's Prayer, what this means for your build is you'll likely want to use Earth Spike for your basic, and your Earth skills will be accessible during Grizzly Rage. If you don't have this, then you'll want to have a helmet that has something like Aspect of Might on it. That'll reduce damage you take by 20%. If you don't have that, don't worry about it too much, it's not the end of the world. There are other good options, like the Immunity Bubble, Extended Duration of Bulwark, or anything else you think will help you survive. Potential good stat choices for the helmet will be cooldown reduction and anything that helps you with survivability. Insatiable Fury doesn't matter too much, but if you have it, feel free to wear it. It'll boost your damage. If you don't have it, again, you're going to look for a defensive aspect and any defensive stats. I've got my aspects mixed around, but preferably you want Ursine Horror as your aspect on the gloves. You probably shouldn't be going Pulverized at all if you don't have Ursine Horror, but it can technically be done without it. With the stats, we're not being too picky, but critical strike chance and ranks to Pulverize is probably your best bet. On our pants, we want to have Disobedience if we can get it, or one of the other defensive aspects. For the stats here, anything that helps your survivability is fine. On the boots, I'm using Quicksand. This doesn't actually help with the boss, so Ballistic would probably be the best choice for the boss fight specifically. The stats here aren't very important, but if you can get boots with additional evade charges, that'll be useful. On the weapon, we want to put our Shockwave aspect, and the higher the roll, the better. For the stats, preferably we'd have vulnerable damage, but any usable stats are good. Don't forget, like you can see here, if you can break 725 item power, you're going to get higher ranges on the stats. Look out for this on every piece of sacred gear you pick up. And if you ever get one that's near that 725, make sure you put it on and upgrade it past 725 to get the massive range increase. On our amulet, we either want Crash Stone or Retaliation. I naturally got Crash Stone on mine, so that's what I went with. For the stats, Spirit Cost Reduction is pretty useful, but at this level, I take what I can get. Also, I forgot to mention, Spirit Cost Reduction on boots is another good choice. For the Heart Gem, I'm using the one that pulls enemies to me when I ult. This doesn't help with the boss, it mostly just helped on the way to the boss. So feel free to use something like the damage reduction one for the boss. On the ring, we want to have the aspect of the Rampaging Werebeast, which I currently have on my gloves. Now, if you don't have this, you can run the alternate version of this build using Cataclysm. And a good choice here, if you're running Cataclysm, would be the aspect of Natural Balance. On our other ring, we've got the aspect of Retaliation, which could also be Crash Stone if they were swapped around. For the stats on the rings, you're looking for vulnerable damage, critical strike chance, and critical damage. We won't be too picky right now, just try and get a couple of useful stats. For our heart gems, we want the one where core skills cost life and deal extra damage. And this one that cycles through is pretty good, but you could also just use the damage reduction. Keep in mind that RNG plays a big role into this part of the game, so don't be afraid to move things around based off of your particular needs. For our spear boons, we're running Wariness, Avian Wrath, Calamity, Calm Before the Storm, and Obsidian Slam. During the boss fight, Obsidian Slam's probably not going to do anything for you, So feel free to run Masochistic during that time. Now remember, the skill tree is going to depend on what you have. If you're not running Grizzly Rage, then you'll probably want to run Storm Strike with Fierce Storm Strike. If you're running Grizzly Rage without Vasilis, then you probably want to run Maul, and you can lead that to Wild Maul. For the Earth Spike, we can grab Fierce Earth Spike. No matter which way we go, we're going to max out our Pulverize, and we're going to grab Primal Pulverize. We'll also grab 3 ranks of Wild Impulses, 3 ranks of Predatory Instinct, and 3 ranks of Iron Fur. I'm running Earth and Bulwark with Preserving Earth and Bulwark, but if I wasn't running Grizzly Rage, I'd run Blood Howl with Innate Blood Howl. We also want to grab 3 points in Vigilance. If we're not running Grizzly Rage, we're not going to use any points in Provocation, but if you do use it, you're going to want to max that out. No matter what we choose, we're going to run Hurricane, and we're going to grab Savage Hurricane. This is great for damage reduction, and if you're running Grizzly Rage outside of the Exploit Glyph, this is the only way to get vulnerable damage. So we'll pop this before we use our Grizzly Rage, and rely on Elemental Exposure to cause vulnerable. We'll also be putting 1 point in Trample, and leading to Savage Trample. We're mostly using this for the Spirit it gives. We'll want to put 3 points in Crushing Earth, and 3 points in Stone Guard. If we're not running Grizzly Rage, we can pull the 3 points out of Stone Guard, the 4 points out of these, 1 point out of this, and 1 point out of this, and we'll use those points for 3 points in Quick Shift, 3 points in Heightened Senses, 1 point in Natural Disaster, and 3 points in Resonance. If you're unable to max out Resonance with that, feel free to pull a couple points out of Defiance. For the Grizzly Rage version, we're obviously going to grab the skill, as well as the 2 additional points. And if not, Cataclysm and the 2 additional points there. And for either one of them, we're going to go with Earth and Might Keystone passive. If you're over level 50, you might have some Paragon points. If you do, this is what you're looking to do with them. We'll start by grabbing Prime, then we'll grab our Glyph Socket, and if we have it, we're running Exploit. If not, something like Spirit will work well. Concentrate your points into any nearby nodes that are useful to you. This will be a better choice than trying to move up to the next tree, unless you have an excessive amount of points. Some additional things to consider. I use the elixir that gives 900 armor, and I'd recommend you do the same. I also crafted an essence that gave me 200 armor. It ended up being overkill, so if you fail the boss, recall, make your essence, pop an elixir, pop the essence, and try again. But as you can see, I forgot to put the gems in my armor, and there's a massive amount of improvement I could make on my gear. So if you get stuck, just farm a little more, level up a couple more levels, and you'll be good to go. And if you happen to be short on any of these aspects, consider waiting a couple more levels per aspect that you're missing. But it should be a very easy clear regardless by level 65. I hope you find this video useful, and let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Your feedback will help me make better videos. Now I want to go farm some tier 4 nightmare dungeons, so I'll see you guys on my stream. Daddy Druid's out of here. Well, capstone's not too hard. I was not expecting that to go so easily. Alright. I probably could have done that shit level 50 if I took the time to do the same shit. Oh my god. Yeah. That's funny as.
This microphone has seen things you guys wouldn't believe.